Hello, Lindsey. I want to say hello to you. Well, Lindsey, I did a prophetic destiny blueprint for you last night and many hours ago, and something happened when the video was processing. The processing stopped or didn't happen, and I couldn't work out how to process it. It's never happened to me before. And I tried to upload the whole file, and YouTube wouldn't process it and wouldn't let it be there. So Romans 8:28 is my key verse I run to, which says, all things work together for good for those who love God and are called according to his purpose. And that's like my run-to verse. 8, 9 out of 10 things that happen to me in my life can be fixed by that verse. So when technology or something happens to me and I can't understand it, I run to that verse that there must be a reason for this. There must be a reason why this has happened. And just an introduction, last night I wasn't in a good place, and I had about an hour's sleep, and before I went to bed for an hour, I wasn't in a good place, and I've woken up and I'm not in a fantastic place. And I sort of, when I did your blueprint, I'm itching my leg at the moment if you can't see that. When I did your blueprint last night before it failed, it took me from not being in a good place into a happy place. And hearing the Spirit of God speak cheered me up. So I won't do too much of an intro. I just feel like I know you already because I did a blueprint over your life. I asked you how old you were because that was of interest to me. Many of the things you're called to do in your blueprint are similar to mine, and similar to some of the things in my life. So I hope that we can work together, and I can be a friend and get to know you over time, and help you walk into some of this stuff. So if you're just tuning in on YouTube, this is a prophetic destiny blueprint. I would really recommend it for every Christian watching this, and not because it's just $150. In years to come, it'll be $1,000 if I do it. My time would be so precious to me. In years to come, it'll be worth a lot more, but I'll certainly be training people how to do them, and through my ministry, someone would be able to do it for $150 for you. So this is a really in-depth look at your life and some of the things God destined for you to do on earth. And Lindsey got a prophecy off me about a year ago, and has returned to my website and requested one of these. And she's currently not in a good place, she tells me. And so this should encourage her. So I normally, if you look at my playlist on YouTube of my former Destiny Blueprints, they're all, there's about 40 of them, and most of them have got 9 points in them. I sort of get around about 9 points most times. And I sit down with music playing and write out the points. And if you can see that, it's all 9 points. But if you could go down to the description tag where underneath my name under this video, if you press see more, it'll have what's written on this sheet listed. And so, Lindsey, if you want to follow it one by one, normally it's 9 points, and this one's 12 points. So I'm talking a bit because I'm a bit elevated because I haven't had a lot of sleep. Okay, so point number one is the most important point. It's if you did nothing else with your life and was just this one, you will have done very good. This is a t-shirt. Everyone goes to the afterlife their life creates. I have designed 120 t-shirts that you can get, and I'll put the link under below. I encourage everyone watching this to pick 5 or 6 t-shirts that, or hoodies this is that they like and support my ministry. And more than that, go and take a message to the world. So number one, the most important thing is for you to be a friend of God. Now, I've got a book called 7 Keys to Intimacy with Jesus, and that'll teach you how to grow close to Jesus. And Jesus said himself that I'm the way, the truth, and the life, and no one comes to the Father except through me. And it's not just confession of Jesus Christ, and it's not just giving your life to Jesus Christ, it's going through him as the door. And a lot of people pray to God, but they don't know God, and God doesn't even know them. Jesus even said in Matthew, in the Sermon on the Mount, that many will come to me in that day and I'll say, I never knew you. So how could you get to God if Jesus doesn't even know you? Now a bit of theology there. I just want to share that God and Jesus get very sad. Watching 1/3 of the women in the West get molested or sexually abused by their father or some man in their life, that really deeply upsets God and Jesus. No matter if you're in the East and in India or Asia and your father's raping you, no matter who your God is, when a prayer is addressed to God, it goes through to God, even if it's a Hindu God or a Buddhist God or an Islam God, or when they cry out to God, the prayers go through, not to the false God, but to the true God. And it really, 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 really is upsetting to God to watch the suffering that's occurring on earth. And many people have no idea that God suffers and have no idea that Jesus suffers. And it's not a popular subject. Christians really don't like to talk about it. If I start talking about it, they'll either argue or they'll just say it's not a nice thing to talk about. But when you become a friend of Jesus, when you become a really dear friend of Jesus and God, they'll start to share their life with you. They'll start to share the things that concern them, their worries, their concerns, their frustrations, their anger, their sadness, how they feel about the victims in the world. Paul talks about having the mind of Christ, and you can have the ability to feel what Jesus feels and hear what Jesus thinks and process Jesus' thoughts and emotions. And it's not very often that I see God calling someone to be his friend, but it's a really highly honoured and revered position to be in, to become a close friend of God. Moses was a friend of God. Abraham was a friend of God. David was a friend of God. The great patriarchs of the Bible were friends of God. And I'm sure there's been millions of friends of God through the century. But it's a really privileged position. It's a hard position. But God doesn't call you into something that you can't do. He equips you. There's this cliche that Christians quote is, God will never have you do anything that's too hard for you. And there's a verse that Paul wrote that said, there certainly is things that are too hard, but through the enabling of the Holy Spirit, we can get through. And this is something hard, but it's very worthwhile. I really wouldn't swap my friendship with Jesus and God for friends in the world, and I haven't got any friends in my city, so I live a pretty sad life. But I wouldn't swap my relationship. It's so precious to me. So, first of all, your highest calling is to grow close to God and be His friend, and be the friend of Jesus. Now, I don't know who you're closest to. I don't know who you relate to most. I've got friend of God, but it should be friend of God, Jesus / Jesus. And now I'm writing it here. It'll be in the notes. So I'm a friend of Jesus first and foremost, then a friend of God and a friend of the Holy Spirit. And I speak to all of them and interact with all of them in an intimate way. Number two, because you'll know the heart of God, the thoughts of God, the concerns of God, God will be able to manifest His desires and things that He wants done in individuals' lives, in countries' lives, in leaders' lives, in churches' lives. Specific prayer points that He wants you to intercede for. I can see you not only becoming like a wonderful and really experienced intercessor, going on God assignments and praying on God assignments, but I can even see you teaching on intercession and teaching on specific intercession and being directed and led by the Lord. I feel that there's hundreds of books on prayer, but I feel that you have a really unique one with testimony saying, I prayed and I prayed and I prayed. And even yesterday, I dispatched angels to the Israeli election, and in the Australian election, I got given a whole lot of angels one day, and it was 3 days to the Australian election. It was like a 3 or 4% shift against the current government, and the current government wasn't going to, as far as the media were concerned and the polls were concerned, the current government wasn't going to be re-elected. Wasn't going to be re-elected, and I sent out the angels to work with all the undecided voters and elect the Liberal government. It's not liberal in American terms, but our Conservative government is called the Liberal government. And I prayed that the angels would turn the hearts of the undecideds to vote for the people that got in the Conservative government. And so part of intercession, and I feel that you're going to really learn. I could teach you some of this, but you could be taught of the Holy Spirit. Part of intercession will lead to you being able to dispatch and be in command of angels. Now there's two ways that God gets his will done. He has people intercede on certain subjects, and the angels come down and fulfill the prayers. And there's another way you can actually dispatch angels, but what you're actually doing is specifically dispatching angels to do this purpose that's already been prayed for and covered in prayer. And so I can see you becoming a very good intercessor, very experienced intercessor, and also commanding angels. And I'll put that in the notes there, so you don't have to always watch the video to see what was said. Point number 3. I've got 5 or 6. I'm not sure if it's 5 or 6. I've got at least 5 books on the prophetic. Point number 3 is you're going to be called to be a prophet. Now, it can take, 10 to 20 years between when you start prophesying until you're actually in the office of prophet. So let's just say a medical student goes to university to study medicine. I think it's a 4 to 6 year degree. Then he'll come out of his degree and work in a hospital and work and go through stages in the hospital until, let's say he wants to be a brain surgeon. He'll start doing general operations and stuff, and then work with a specialist. But it's 10 to 15 years between when he goes to study medicine until he's doing unsupervised surgeries on people's brains. It takes a long time. Well, the same is true for the prophetic. You can, I can pray for you to receive the gift of prophecy, and you can start to prophesy pretty well straight away. But it'll take 15 to 20 years to become that brain surgeon, to have the anointing, the authority, and the accuracy in your gift. And being a prophet is a lot more than just prophesying. You teach, you equip other prophets. You do a whole lot of things. And I think I've read about 50 books before I firmly established what I was called to do as a prophet. And so I encourage you to be a reader. Bringing out this funny voice. Leaders are readers. I heard this cliche. So I encourage you to start to read on the prophetic and the office of prophet, and because you're going to be called to be one. Now, the prophet can be rejected, misunderstood, lonely, suffer, and it can be a hard life. And perhaps you're having this sort of place where you don't know where you are, having this hard time just because this blueprint was going to be delivered into your life, and sort of in this transition stage. Point number 4, that you're going to be a prophetic equipper. James Goll, Goll, says in his book, The Seer, and you can get the updated edition, he identifies about 12 different types of prophet. And he was doing that teaching at a church where I saw him live, and he only had 12 and it was up to number 10. I was saying, I mightn't be a prophet. I thought I was a prophet, but hasn't mentioned me. He's up to number 10. I hope he mentions mine first. Then he went prophetic equipper, prophetic evangelism, prophetic writer. And I was those three. Prophetic equipper, I think every prophet should be one, but you're not only going to be an exceptional prophet and voice and spokesman for God and mouthpiece for God, but you're going to train many prophets into the role of being a prophet, and you're going to equip many people, many normal Christians, with the gift of prophecy and mentor and teach them how to move in prophetic evangelism, how to prophesy and lift up strangers who don't know the Lord, and how to lift up other Christians with the gift of prophecy. I also see you, it's going to be a point later, but you can see you like having an online church with a lot of prophetic people in it, but we're going to mention that a little bit later. Sorry about that. Sorry about my itching. I get itchy when I'm doing a video, and sorry about my coughing. They're all sort of distractions that the enemy wants to bring on me. Right, point number 4, I can see you being a teacher. So, intercessor, prophet, teacher. Prophet and teacher are both fivefold ministry giftings. So, can see you being a teacher. Now, I can see you doing, I've got close on 1,900 YouTube videos. I can see you doing thousands. I can also see you building an audience and a following on Facebook and YouTube with your ministry. In the future, I can see you doing webinars and teaching on specific subjects. You could have like a discipleship class that people could sign up for, have a weekly class where you take people through 26 weeks of teachings, and you could have 50 or 100 people on this like Zoom webinar and be running this discipleship class. Now, people can sign up $50, $100, $200 for this discipleship class, and in the class, when you've got 100 people in the class, they can be asking questions in the question time. You can teach on a subject, then open it up. The first hour on teaching, and the second hour open up to questions. People can type in the chat, and you can start to answer the questions. So I can see you having like a very big video audience. Of course, if you build over years a big YouTube following, you can actually have, you can actually do the webinars on the YouTube live. You can do it live on YouTube, or you can do Facebook lives, or you can do YouTube lives, Facebook lives, and other lives all at the same time, like some people do. Point number 6, I can see you becoming a prophetic coach. So part of that is I can show you how to do these blueprints, and you can actually help coach people in their life, help people make decisions, and operate with the spirit of wisdom, coaching people in their lives and life decisions, getting them from here into their destiny and helping them step by step make decisions and encourage them to become who they're destined to be. Now, it's the trendy thing all over my Facebook anyway, to be a life coach and make money being a life coach, and do all these things to be a life coach. I said this in the other introduction when when I did your blueprint. You're a person who, I believe at some time, you read the story of Solomon, and Solomon being asked by God, what does he want? And Solomon saying, I want wisdom to be able to govern my people and judge my people, run my people better. I feel that you saw that story at one stage and sort of felt the Lord ask you the same question. And you said you want to learn how to love him good, and you want to learn how to love other people good. I think you got the two fundamental commands of Jesus Christ that he summed up and said that's what you want to do. And so your whole life focus will be on glorifying the name of God and loving people. And you really haven't got no vested interest in having a lot of wealth or the world's possessions, and you're not really into the things of the world. That doesn't really turn you on. And because of that, God's going to give you wealth. He's going to equip you and train you. Point number 7, we can see you not only coaching people, but learning really specific and detailed and wonderful ways to counsel people. Now, I'm in counseling. I had a lot of pain in my life, and I've been with some counselors that I have a 1-hour session with a male and a female couple, married couple, and I undergo counseling every 2 weeks. And I can see you training and become a very experienced counselor that works with people and helps them heal their wounds and trauma and deal with all altars, multiple personalities and demons and bondages and strongholds, and releasing people from the woundedness and equipping them and helping them become who they're destined to be. And I feel that this won't be your main vocation. You'll be doing a lot of things, but it'll be like just a tool in your tool belt, that if you've come across someone who you're coaching and they've got some wounds and they can't really progress until they've been counseled, you could step over into your counseling tool belt and start to do some counseling for them. Point number 8. Satan used to attack me in this cough, and he really doesn't like this blueprint. This is what I saw yesterday, last night when I was doing this blueprint. I see you building up like a website that helps hurting people, orphans, widows, poor people, and people in ministry. I see you setting up this website based on other people's ministries and the things other people are doing. So there's a person called David Servant who runs a ministry called Heaven's Family, and he does outreach to poor Christians and all around the world. He's got outreaches in multiple countries. I can see you setting up this like hub website that's got hundreds of pastors, hundreds of ministries that are already set up. So a person could search a country, or even search America, search a state, search a city, and the person may want to feed the homeless in California or Los Angeles, California. They can search Los Angeles, California, and find 3 ministries doing outreaches to the homeless read the bios of the 3 ministry and just support one of them. It'll all come through your hub. Now, this be amazing influence that you'd have on the Christian world. And I know Elijah List and Identity Network and other Christian magazines would love to write articles about this service, and I can see this being a huge project and take some finances to set it up. But rather than ministries going on Facebook and doing marketing and trying to reach people and advertise the ministry and raise funds, it's like this has been like 5 or 10 years' time. Like, people will know about this website. It'll be indexed well on Google and on the search engines, and have a name for itself. And it's just, instead of, here's the thing, you know, I've got a lot of books and people find out about me somehow, and there's a lot of Pakistani and Indian and African pastors and imposters and scammers always writing to me, wanting to be my friend on Facebook, and then want me to pray for them as their first thing. And then they say, I want to invite you over to speak to our orphans and our people and our pastors, and I want you. And I said, so you want me to come over for a couple of weeks? How much money are you going to send me to go? Oh, no, you spend your money and you do this and we arrange this and stuff. And they're just scammers all over the place. Well, there's people like Heidi Baker, who's got a ministry called Iris Ministries. That's got 10,000 pastors. So Heidi, one of the major reasons Heidi travels to the West a third of the time is to promote her ministry, get a name for herself. She's also got a big calling to preach to the West and awaken the sleeping giant, the sleeping Western church. It's also to sponsor a ministry. So I would never give money to someone unknown to me, right? There's enough needs for ministry. I've got places where I put money, serious money. If I was given a few $100s to someone, I know where I'd give it. But there's people like Joyce Meyer and this Heaven's Family and Heidi Baker that have got orphans and have got pastors. Heidi has planted 10,000 churches. So she'd have all the details of all those 10,000 pastors, and they'd have orphans and children sponsors. I think Heidi Baker's ministry serves 30,000 meals a day or something. So she could have a whole lot of pastors and ministries and different orphans and stuff on your website, and people could search for a country in Africa that they want to support, and then all the ministries that are attached to you would be on that website. They could go and read the bios and get involved and send money. And even if the individual ministries, the individual 10,000 churches haven't got a PayPal link, you could send it to Heidi Baker and it be addressed to a specific church and a specific pastor that's on the website. So that's like a huge idea, and that would change the world. Number 9, well, for instance, I've heard that World Vision, for instance, spends about 80% of their resources on advertising for funding. If something like this thing existed in the world, a lot of these ministries wouldn't have to be spending money advertising. They'd be able to come through you. So similarly, they'd be able to pay 5% of their donations back to you if their donation came from your website, for them to donate 5% of the donations back to your ministry to support that. Number 9, I can see you starting a Facebook group, a teaching hub, an equipping hub. So this was a good idea too, and I went into a lot of detail with this too. I can see you setting up like an online church through a Facebook group, and I ran one with about 10,000 members in a few years ago. But it can be a teaching hub too, that people can get qualifications to post in the group. So you can raise up and equip the fivefold ministries: apostles, prophets, evangelists, pastors, and teachers. And you can have a rule that you've got to post 3 to 5 times a day on the wall with a teaching, with like a normal Facebook post. And if you're posting 3 to 5 times a day and the people are knowing, and you're not only posting, but you're interacting on people's comments, they've got to make the commitment to build a name and build a recognition on this Facebook group when there's 10 and 20 and 30,000 people in it. And if they're posting 3 to 5 times a week and they've got a present, then they're allowed to post their latest blog, their latest video, their latest book. They can promote some of the other stuff that they're doing off Facebook's platform in the group. So you're essentially training the fivefold how to minister. Of course, there's going to be people who aren't in the fivefold, who aren't full-time in the fivefold ministry giftings, that are going to be community members that are posting on the wall and doing things. But you have a rule that everyone who posts needs to like everyone's comment to say the comment's been read, and like a rule in there saying if people make comments and ask questions, it's your job as the poster to comment and interact and build relationship with the people that are commenting and stuff. What I've found in a lot of groups is there's 2 people or 3 people posting and no one commenting and no one interacting. Well, that's stupid. That's nothing. But the groups I ran had heaps of interaction, a lot of people interacting, and you can build this online church that you can oversee and be like this training hub and essentially launch ministries out of this Facebook group. Facebook group doesn't cost anything, but you can even have like a donation page, a website up in your introduction that everyone reads when they come to the page. You can have a link where people can support your ministry with PayPal. Number 10, I can see you as a writer, writing books, blogs, and online magazine posts, articles. I've got 2 books on how to write a book, so I won't go into a lot of detail on how to write, but I can see you writing a lot of non-fiction books. Now I've got 50. I'd love you're 21. By the time you're 50, I'd love to see you've got 52 blogs and articles in online magazines. So I feel that you got a real gift for writing, and that'll bring out your teaching gift, what you'll be teaching in writing. Number 11, this is a business. I can see you being a ministry promoter, a marketing advisor, and an agency for all things online. So this will be in the notes. So I can see you have graphic designers, website builders, social media marketing, and normal marketing, and public relations workers. So I can see you running this advertising agency for business and for ministries, and essentially for Christians, targeted on Christians. Non-Christians can use it, but all your workers and all your team will be kingdom focused, and everything you do will be kingdom. I don't know if you understand kingdom. I'm starting to understand it yourself. And when this is happening in 5 and 10 or 15, 20 years time, whenever it's happening, this will have a great reputation. A lot of people will be coming to this. Now, you'll learn all these things as you promote and do other things. And you'll learn to gather around your best graphic designers. I've got a graphic designer that I use for my t-shirts, and I've got a graphic designer that I use for my book covers. I've got people that prepare my website on search engine, and they build my website, and my website isn't fantastic. Haven't got anyone in marketing or public relations, but you learn this thing as you're doing things. Well, one day you'll have a business that's like a advertising agency. It'll be an agency for everything online sort of business. And number 12, I see you as a speaker, and a speaker in churches and a motivational speaker. I see you speaking on specific subjects. Number 13, that I haven't got here, but I'll have it here. I can see you starting many businesses, and that generating lots of cash. So I can see you getting business ideas and different business products, and starting many businesses and generating a lot of income. So it's extensive. It's really good, and I hope that you were blessed and encouraged by this. I encourage you to get in touch with me, talk to me on Facebook. I can talk to you on Zoom or Facebook phone and discuss all this. I encourage you to be my friend. I don't promote myself as a mentor, and I won't even call it life coaching. It would be a pleasure to help you work out which of these ones you're going to do first, and then start to move in them and help you develop over many years into who you're meant to become. So I hope that really encouraged you. I can see the reason why I had to do it the second time. It's a whole lot more cleaner. I apologize for the long introduction before I started. And I hope you're blessed, and you can get in contact and give me some feedback. If you're watching this and this sounds exciting to find out all these sorts of things that you're meant to do with your life, you're meant to do, as a Christian, you're meant to do more than just one job. It's very extensive what I shared there, and you can go down in the description tag and read all that, and I'll also give a link to my website where you can go to the blueprint page and order a blueprint. So I encourage you to do that. I'll list a video about what blueprints are about, and the life coaching aspect that I can offer, and I'll have a video there for you and the link to order your own blueprint. So I encourage you to that. God bless.